Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. It's been almost 4 months since my wife and I landed in Canada. We landed about late February. It's almost end of June right now. We are doing quite well. If you haven't watched our earlier videos, my wife came here with a job in hand while I tag along as a spouse. And it took me about 3 months to get a job actually. It's a part-time job. It helps me pay the stuff around the house as well. Then you can enjoy a little more. Because before that, my burn rate is in my local currency, which is the Malaysian ringgit. A bit painful. It's about 3 ringgit to 1 Canadian dollar, so it's a bit painful. It gets in your head, you know, then mentally disturbed and stuff. But earning in the dollar itself allows me to breathe easier. But anyways, today's video, I would like to share with you some tips if you are landing in Canada sometime soon. Alright, of course, comparing with the experience that my wife and I had. Let's get into it. Okay, the very first thing, of course, if you are given a first month accommodation by your employers, that would be great. So what you need to initially plan is, of course, your trip from the Toronto Pearson Airport to your residence. What happened to my wife and I is that as we landed about 8 o'clock. We cleared immigration. Then it took us out about 9 p.m. We weren't really that ready, so we didn't have any of the apps in hand, but it would be great to actually install your Uber or Lyft right off the bat, so you can plan your transport, right, to get out of the airport as fast as you can. Depending on how heavy you have packed for Canada, my wife and I, we packed about 6 luggage, 2 hand carries and 4 checked-in luggage, because Cathay Pacific allowed 2 checked-in luggage each. So we needed a bigger vehicle. Of course, those options are available on Lyft or Uber. Or what we did was we installed Lyft, and I paid it through my Malaysian credit card, because at the time we don't want to pay by cash in case of the cents and stuff like that. Although we were carrying cash, so I still paid with my local currency with my Malaysian card attached to it. So that is one tip, right? Always get the app installed. Make sure all the payment is ready, so you get off the airport as soon as you can, as fast as you can to your residence. Of course, you will spend the night. The very next day, first thing you want to get upon landing is actually your social insurance number, which is your SIN, call it for short. This can be obtained from Service Canada. Service Canada is not to be confused with Service Ontario. Service Ontario is the province government agency, not the whole of Canada. So Service Ontario would give you your OHIP, your driver's license, so on and so forth. OHIP is your health card. Service Canada is your SIN. So do not confuse the two, because there are people who I met in Service Ontario who was looking for Service Canada. So it's 2 different locations which are not close by. So it may waste your day. So do plan your trip accordingly. So of course, to get to Service Canada, my wife and I went to the one in College Street. We got on the TTC. The TTC comprised of buses, streetcars or trams you call it, and the Line 1 subway, Line 2, Line 3, Line 4, that's a lot. But if you're in downtown, Line 1 is your go-to, and of course the streetcars. For your public transit, it's advisable to get a Presto card. This is where it's like a touch and go card or any travel transit card, right? So you can get this card through Shoppers Drug Mart, which is around. You can Google it. Or the easiest one, if you don't want to think so much about it, is normally inside the subway station. Alright, so if you can find a subway station, normally there's a kiosk. There are options for you to purchase the card, which is about $6, and then you purchase a monthly pass for about 170 post-tax. Post-tax is about 13%. Why I suggest getting a monthly pass on your first month here in Toronto is because you're going to move around a lot, right? And you don't want to keep paying for every ride you're going to, right? Because you're trying to explore the whole place. It's like a first month is like a holiday. So this is how it works. You're using a Presto card, right? So when you get on a subway or a tram or a bus, the first scan is a charge of $3.30, and that will give you a free transfer for 2 hours anywhere. So if you step on, step off, and then you transit many places within the 2 hours, it's free. I mean, there's no additional charge actually. So beyond the 2 hours, then another $3.30 will be charged. Hence, your first month it's best to get a monthly pass. It is a bit painful, $170, but consider it as your travel expense. Now, one tip after you get your Presto card from the machine, when you get back home, do register your card by creating a Presto account through the website. Download the app onto your phone. This is because you want to register the serial number to your account in case you lose the card. Because let's say if you sign up for one monthly pass and then you lose the card on the second week, if you did not register it, your $170-ish plus the card value go down the drain. Alright, so if you have registered the card, then you can cancel the card and then you just file for some refund and then get a new card. Then you can carry on, because that's what happened to me. Luckily, right, I lost the card towards the end of my monthly pass, so it was a bit painful, but you can't be so calculative down to the dollar, right? Immediately after I got my second card, register it, and even put it on the app. Having it on the app as well gives you the freedom, especially for NFC enabled phones, right? You can reload your Presto by touching the card onto the phone after you paid for the top up using your PayPal or MasterCard or Visa or credit card to say. So that's one very important thing. Losing your Presto is fine, but make sure you register it. If you don't register it, then your money is as good as gone. So again, back to Service Canada, the tram gets to nearby, which is about closer to another additional 3-minute walk. Place opens early in the morning. It's best that you go right early in the morning. Just get it done and over with, because you will have other tasks to do as well as you were to set your routes here in Canada. Of course, the next big thing that you want to do is actually getting your bank account, your local bank account, because assumably you could be carrying a lot of cash with you as you come in, right? Because transferring in cash is possible, but there will be charges, right? So normally, first in, there's a maximum of 10,000 per person. So it's best if you can maximize that, then it's great. It is always up to your financial strength on how much you would like to bring. But however, before opening a bank account, you need a phone number, right? You need a local number, because it has to tie in your, you have to tie you in so that they can contact you. And of course, to set up your banking app, so on and so forth. This is also very important. So before getting the bank account, having a lot of cash with you, do get a local line, okay? So do some research before landing, because we left it quite to the end because we thought it was quite straight up on compared to how it is back in Malaysia. It is somewhat the case, but it's best because you want to research the costs, right? If you have some budget, you can go for a premium one like Bell, Rogers, Thales. If you're a bit tight, or if you want to be more conscious about your telco spending, you can go for the second tier, which is like Freedom, Shatter, Fido. But all these second tier one, they are also actually owned by the bigger corporations, alright? So for my case, actually not much research, right? It was quite last minute. We did go with Fido at the moment, but we landed at the flagship store at Dundas Square. So it was a Rogers flagship, and the person who was very nice helped set us up with Fido for the moment, because for Rogers, we could get a discount through my wife's workplace, because apparently in Canada, if you're working in corporate or certain industry that you're in, companies such as Rogers, even Apple, they do give discounts to based on where you work. If it's eligible, they search if your company pops up, then you can get some discounts, right? So what we did was we took Fido and then we moved to Rogers 1 month later. It was a 5G plan. It's about $55 pre-tax. There are some discounts in it, and then of course it's 5G. Another thing that you want to consider when getting your number is actually whether it works in the subway, right? Because this is the one thing that's very weird here in Toronto, is that almost 99% of all the telcos do not work in the subway, the line 1. As long as it's underground, you have no line. So it's a bit scary. Compared that to Malaysia, we have strong line with all telcos. So the only telco at the moment that has coverage in the TTC line 1, the subway, is actually the Freedom Mobile. Freedom Mobile is also actually much cheaper. It's about, I think it's getting a bit more competitive now. 50 gig for about $40 pre-tax. But the downside about Freedom is that I heard it's only great in the Toronto area. If you move out, like Mississauga and other places, then you may struggle a little. So if your life is very centered in downtown to midtown Toronto and you're always in the subway, then Freedom would be very good for you, because then you get to scroll in the subway. If not, your subway rides are very, very boring. You can only play offline games or listen to music. Don't worry about being tied down to a telco, then you have that fear. But apparently, because porting in and porting out to different carriers is actually quite seamless here in Toronto. But at least what I've experienced is from Fido to Rogers. Having said that, because Rogers owns Fido, so it was very fast actually. It was done within 10-20 minutes. I suppose back in Malaysia, sometimes it can take about a day, depending on how the system kicks in, right? So anyways, after getting your local number, right, so you're quite good to go, is to get your bank account, right, so you can dump all your cash inside. So the good thing about Canada is that they are very welcoming of newcomers. I think that's how they pull in money, right, to the country. So for newcomers, there's most all banks, they have a newcomer bank account promotion, where the promotion gives you about a rebate of $300 to $400 after you complete certain tasks, right? So very common. All banks have quite similar promotion. We went with Scotiabank or the Bank of Nova Scotia. So what we need to do is either you pay bill from your bank account, set up auto billing. Set up auto billing is one. Pay bills above $50 is one. Number three is actually to set up payroll. That means if you got a job, you will set up the payroll to that account. That's considered one task. So you complete all these tasks within 3 months, then they'll give you the 300 to 400 after 6 months. So that's one thing to look at. So depending on that, you should just give a quick read through about all the banks. It could be TD Bank, Bank of Montreal, Scotiabank. These are the big ones in the financial district. I think there's more. Maybe I missed out. Scotiabank has this thing called the SIM card, where you can collect points through your credit card purchase. I mean, all banks have it. The cinemas here in Toronto, right, they also run with a partnership with Scotiabank. That's why there's one called the Scotiabank Theatre. So what we have done is that we shopped a lot, right? Our furnitures, our groceries and all. So we collected a lot of SIM points. So recently, our past 2-3 movies has been completely free through the SIM, as we use our SIM points to pay for our movies. Another important thing, right, about settling in with your banking is, of course, you came here to Canada, you have not shut down your local banking back in your home country, right? Keeping your local Malaysian number is, your local number for that matter, wherever you're from, is very important, right? For me, it was quite lucky. What I did was I have transitioned to eSIM back in Malaysia, so I did not use a SIM card for the longest time. So when I came to Canada with my phone, my iPhone 13 Pro with the eSIM with my DG, and then I got my local number. I just put in a SIM card, so I have 2 lines which are running concurrently. Why this is important is because you have your banking back home, you have your commitments back home, maybe perhaps a house or some bills or insurance that it has not been closed, right? You want to maintain those, you want to transfer back money to your family. This is where it gets tricky, right? So when you come here, before or prior to you coming here, what you should do is actually, right, make sure your local number from your home country is tied to your name alone, family, or you can put it under them so that they can run it for you. Next thing, switched it to, for me, what I did was I switched it to prepaid. So switching it to prepaid, you can pay or don't pay whenever you want. So at least you may want to keep the number, so you just top up every interval, right, 30, 50 ringgit when you need. So what I did was, of course, the first thing when you move here is that you will get a roaming, so that will get you going for the first 7 to 10 days. So that's great. So top up and convert it to prepaid, top up an amount, then buy your first roaming kit until you get your local number. So having your local number, which is from Fido or Rogers or Bell, etc., do not cancel or do not throw away or do not switch off, do not kill even your eSIM's connection to your home local number, because it's still tied to your banks there, right? Because things they happen to us. Just couldn't log into your home country bank, and then you need to call someone. So what we did was we did call with our Canadian number, and it blasted us with about 50 to 70 Canadian dollars, which is very expensive, Those money can be spent elsewhere, right? So if you bought credits in your home currency, in your home number, then the cost of it wouldn't be so bad. Of course, you still have to push through the conversation so it doesn't last so long, right? So here's the case, right? So I did what I did when I mentioned just now. I have my local number, everything's in place. My wife didn't, because she's still using SIM card, so she had to switch between both. So it's a bit tedious for her. And then I think she cancelled the number as well, because she thought she didn't need it anymore, because the number is tied to her father's telco account. So they just cut it so they don't have to incur costs anymore. But little that they know, sometimes your banking serves as a problem, right? What you can do actually upon coming here, when you get your local Canadian number, is that you can switch your home bank. Yeah, for my case, Maybank, right? You can switch the number to the Canadian number. You just have to get the forms from customer service, fill in the form, then you submit it, they will run it for you. They will run some verification and they'll do it for you. You have to do it on your if you want to keep your credit card as well. Credit card is a separate thing, right? So your bank account, you may switch to a Canadian number. You have to also switch it for your credit card. If not, it will still go back to the home number. However, if the line is still active, right? If your prepaid is still active, you will still get tax. You can still get TACs and all coming in. That's why you have to maintain the home country number. If you don't mind paying the telcos here, then of course you're going to incur higher costs, but this is how you actually minimize the costs when you're here. Because if you came here with a job, then it's fine. Your burn rate will switch to a local currency, Canadian dollars, right? But for my case personally, 3 months that I didn't work while my wife is working, so my burn rate would still be in Malaysian ringgit, and it's painful. It got to me mentally at some times. It was a bit difficult, but you have to weather through it, right? Think of it as a holiday expense. To summarize, first do get your social insurance number because your local employer will need it. Then get your local Canadian number because your bank will need it. Maintain your home country's handphone number in case your local bank need it. But do convert it all to your Canadian number and everything is easy. Get your bank account running so that you can dump all the cash that you brought with you. You can keep about 100 to 200 cash with you because a lot places that we go, let's say if you're shopping for IKEA, getting your furniture and stuff, everything will be paid through credit. Only that you go to certain restaurants that you pay in cash, then there's a discount, then of course you want to do that. But other than that, everything pretty much we use our credit card and we are pretty much quite cashless here, although it's not as easy and fun as in Malaysia with Grab and Boost. But here, I think most banks, they are compatible with Apple Pay, so when you get a credit card, you just sync it on Apple Pay. I think it will work with Google Pay just fine. So everything is just very cashless these days. Again, do keep some cash with you in case you're going to a smaller to medium business who prefers cash and will reward you with some discount for paying cash. That is all for the video today. I've covered social insurance number, your local number, banking, and your Presto card. In the next upcoming videos, we'll cover topics like utilities, insurance, credit score, grocery and shopping, so do stay tuned for more contents on that. Do like and subscribe if you like the content, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you for watching.